Welcome, welcome, Jenny here. Today I wanted to show you a couple of movements or yoga postures that you can do while in labor. Next weekend, March 18th at Nada Yoga, I'm teaching a couples yoga birth workshop or a couples birth preparation workshop. And get questions of, oh, my partner's never done yoga, is he or she welcome? And more than welcome, of course. The yoga asana or posture part is in this case a minimal part of what we do in the workshop, and sometimes I even feel that way in prenatal yoga classes as well. We move a lot, but a lot of what we're taking from yoga is mindfulness, is being present, is using your breath in order to get through some situations that may be less than pleasurable or comfortable, put it that way. So today in this video I just wanted to show you a few of what those postures or movements are, even though that's not the entirety of next week's workshop. If you are coming, if you're not, I encourage you to come. So we're going to start on hands and knees, and there is enough controversy of this posture, just being on hands and knees while in pregnancy because of a concern of intra-abdominal pressure, too much weight. I feel like for the amount of time we're going to spend here, for most people it's going to be perfectly fine, and I encourage you to, as always, listen to your body. If it feels too heavy on your spine, don't do these movements. A lot of them we can do in a seated position instead and still be quite beneficial, but for the majority I think being on hands and knees, probably with a little cushion underneath your knees and just making sure that you're really well supported with your hands, is going to work just fine for the amount of time that we're going to be here. So we'll come on to hands and knees, and using really this inside part of your hand to well support you. If your wrists are really sensitive, which is often the case in pregnancy, you could always make fists too with your thumbs coming forward, but really if you can use the whole base of your hand instead of going too lightly, it will be more comfortable probably on the wrists. You can take a couple of breaths here, and I encourage you whenever possible to close the eyes. We're going to start with some cat-cows. So you inhale, tailbone comes up, heart lifts, and again this is something you can do a similar version of while sitting. As you exhale, rounding the back. So I'm not really exaggerating here. As I inhale, open the heart, I'm not pressing my belly. It's really a movement and an exploration of the spine and checking in with your intention, and not forcing anything ever in prenatal yoga or in yoga in general. So you make a few movements, eyes closed, letting the movement be enveloped by the breath. So trying to start your inhale before you start the movement, and finishing the movement as you finish that breath. It takes a lot of concentration, but a big part of bringing yoga into labor is to be able to do exactly that, to be here with the breath. From your cat-cows, you can start to make some circles with the hips, and you can start small. And gradually letting your circles become a little bit bigger. It'll feel different for everybody, and it will be maybe bigger circles. They might be more rapid for some people while they're more slow for other people. Some of you will come almost all the way back into a child's pose, and some will come more into a plank as they come forward. But again, checking in with your intention. You're here to feel something really nice. And this work that mom does in labor is real. Mom does a lot of work, regardless of how the birth goes, how short, how long. It's a lot of work. And I like the word in French, travail. It really is work. Labor is travail. Can come around in the other direction, starting big and eventually getting more smaller. But baby works too. Baby does a lot of work to come out, and he or she spirals to come down the birth canal. When you do these movements, we're helping that happen. when we are spending the majority of our labor flat on our back, not moving, we're not helping baby. And sometimes for one reason or another that happens. But as much as possible, avoiding or delaying the amount of time before we get onto our backs if that's how we're going to deliver. And you could push exactly like this. You can labor and push baby out and have the doctor catch the baby back here. It actually happens more often than you might think in a hospital setting. From here, similar movement, but figure eights. So cross over the center line, big movements around, and they don't have to be perfect, and you can get your shoulders into it as much as you want. So we'll come into some big figure eights, always breathing. And people say, how long can I come to prenatal yoga? And I tell the story of this woman, Dominic, who was her third baby, and she came to one of my yoga classes while in labor. You come around in the other direction, and she had her contractions in the class. Went home and had the baby a couple of hours later. So you can really come and do yoga, especially if you're doing it at home, laboring at home. Do some of these movements before you go anywhere, and then you can do again some of this stuff on the hospital bed as well. I tell another story of a woman who right until the very end was in child's pose. We'll come into child's pose if it's still comfortable for you. Sometimes it feels better if you have a bolster or a pillow right under the bum so that it's comfortable. At some point the belly is big and it might not be comfortable. It just depends on the person. You might also have something under your forehead here. You could use your hands. If this feels good for you, you could also come instead into melting heart pose, which is maybe a video for another day, but one of the really great postures to help baby come into the best possible position for birth. Yeah, I tell this story of this other woman who was in child's pose. And the noises she was making, the nurse and I were very convinced that the baby was coming out anytime. And so she was in her child's pose, doing her thing, and the nurse was like, you need to turn over. And the woman was basically like, don't tell me what to do. I'm happy like this. And the nurse was like, really, you need to turn over. So the woman turns over, and as she comes onto her back, the nurse catches the new baby without any gloves, anything. The baby just came right out from child's pose. And I wish you a fast and slippery birth. It was the woman's second baby, and it was really quite something to see. Anyway, just to say that you can in fact be doing yoga right up until the last moments before the baby's born. So those are just a couple of really simple movements that I teach in many of my prenatal yoga classes, if you're already coming to those in Montreal. And again, if you're thinking of coming to the birth workshop next Sunday, March 18th at Nada Yoga, you can sign up on the website. You can also be in touch with me at jennybeeyoga.com, Jenny at jennybeeyoga, JENNYBEE yoga.com. If you have any questions about the birth workshop or doula services, anything like that. And if I do not see you in person, I hope that you will continue to watch these videos, and I'm so glad that you have been. Thank you very much. Namaste.